If you want to understand what truly melts a man's mind, stop looking at the surface. Stop thinking it's your looks, your words, or your charm. It's not. What captivates a man at his core is psychological. It's the way you move through the world with self-command, depth, and quiet confidence. Every man is searching, even if he won't admit it. He's looking for a woman who activates his mind, not just his body. A woman who makes him feel alive, but also accountable. A woman who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't need, but chooses. That choice is where power lives. A. Brew. The first psychological turn-on is self-respect. When you carry yourself like someone whose time and attention are sacred, you send a signal, I am not for everyone. Men sense it instantly. The world treats you according to how you treat yourself. If you tolerate mediocrity, that's what you'll attract. If you hold a standard, you awaken admiration, and admiration precedes desire. Brew. The second is emotional stability. Chaos might attract attention, but calm commands respect. When a man sees that you can stay composed while others crumble, you represent safety and strength. You become a refuge in a world full of noise, and that is magnetic. Hebrew the third is mystery. Not the kind built on games or silence, but the kind that comes from depth. The more a man has to earn your truth, the more he values it. When you reveal everything too quickly, you rob him of the journey. Mystery is not withholding, it's wisdom. It's understanding that depth is discovered, not displayed. The fourth is feminine confidence. Real confidence doesn't shout, it doesn't need validation, it moves with grace, grounded in purpose. A confident woman doesn't demand energy, she attracts it. Her quiet certainty makes men lean in, not because she's performing, but because she's present. Hebrew the fifth turn-on is standards. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. When you say no with conviction, you communicate strength. A man's attraction grows when he realizes he cannot buy your time with charm alone. He must earn it through consistency. Standards test his character, and great men crave tests. Hebrew the sixth is authenticity. Pretending to be someone else might impress him for a moment, but it won't hold his mind. Authenticity is rare. It's dangerous in the best way. It says, I'm not afraid to be real. When you live in truth, you invite him to do the same. And that truth builds emotional intimacy faster than beauty ever could. Hebrew the seventh is emotional intelligence. Men are often drawn to women who understand them without judgment. It's not about fixing him, it's about seeing him, understanding what drives him, what scares him, what fuels him. When a man feels emotionally safe, his ego softens and his loyalty deepens. Hebrew the eighth is independence. Neediness repels, but independence attracts. A man's mind is drawn to a woman who has her own world, her own dreams, her own rhythm. When he realizes you choose him without needing him, that's when he becomes addicted to earning your presence. Hebrew. And the ninth, perhaps the most powerful, is purpose. A woman on a mission is unstoppable. She doesn't revolve around anyone's validation. Her focus, her ambition, her devotion to growth, all of it creates gravity. A man doesn't want to complete her, he wants to join her. Purpose is the fire that melts his mind and ignites his respect. So understand this. Attraction isn't manipulation, it's alignment. It's who you become when you refuse to settle for smallness. A man's desire isn't sustained by beauty, it's sustained by energy, discipline, and self-worth. When you embody respect, strength, mystery, confidence, and purpose, you don't just attract men, you command presence, you become unforgettable. Hebrew here, and in a world that constantly tells you to shrink, that's the ultimate rebellion. Because a woman who knows her value doesn't chase love, she creates it. Hebrew respect is the core of desire. It's not beauty, it's not charm, it's not even love, it's respect. Because without respect, everything else collapses. A man may admire your looks, he may be drawn to your presence, but if he doesn't respect you, he will never value you. And if he doesn't value you, his desire will fade the moment it's tested. Desire built on surface attraction burns fast, but dies faster. Respect, though, it's what endures. It's the foundation that transforms fascination into devotion. When a woman moves with self-respect, she doesn't need to demand it from others. It's written in her energy, her silence, her decisions. It's in the way she walks away from what doesn't honor her. You see, respect begins with you. It's not something others give, it's something you establish. Every choice you make teaches people how to treat you. Every yes that should have been a no erodes your power. Every time you lower your standards to keep someone, you teach them you can be bought with attention. But when you stand firm, when you say, this is who I am and this is what I accept, you separate yourself from the masses. And that separation is magnetic. A man is not drawn to ease, he's drawn to elevation. He respects what requires him to rise. When you hold your boundaries, you give him something to pursue. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you are hard to reach. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you are not available to those who haven't earned it. And that distance creates desire. Respect is not arrogance, it's clarity. It's knowing that you are not an option, you are a standard. It's understanding that your time, your body, your peace, these are sacred. When you treat them that way, a man either rises to meet you or falls away. Let him fall, because you don't need to chase validation. You need to protect your value. Here's the truth most people avoid. You cannot be respected if you don't respect yourself. If you betray your own boundaries, if you tolerate inconsistency, if you confuse attachment for love, you will always feel undervalued. The moment you stop making excuses for others and start enforcing standards for yourself, your entire world changes. People stop taking advantage of you because your energy no longer invites it. When a man encounters a woman who embodies self-respect, he feels it before she speaks. Her confidence doesn't scream, it whispers with authority. She doesn't need to prove her worth, she already knows it. She doesn't beg for effort, she inspires it. That's the kind of presence that melts a man's mind. It commands him to rise without a word. Respect also demands discipline. You must be willing to walk alone until what you deserve finds you. Weak people fear loneliness. Strong people use it to sharpen their standards. Every time you choose self-respect over temporary attention, you reinforce your power. You remind yourself that peace is more valuable than approval. Desire without respect is temporary. It's excitement without substance. But when a man desires you and respects you, you become unforgettable. You enter his mind not as an object, but as a presence. He doesn't just want you, he admires you. And admiration is the highest form of attraction. So if you want to melt a man's mind, start by mastering yourself. Hold your boundaries, live your truth. Never lower your standard just to be seen, because real love doesn't require you to shrink. It meets you at your level, and it grows from respect. Remember this: the woman who respects herself doesn't chase love, she attracts it naturally. She doesn't plead to be chosen, she is the choice. Because respect isn't just the core of desire, it's the language of power. And once you learn to speak it, the world starts listening. Challenge awakens attraction. Every man might enjoy comfort, but he respects challenge. What moves him, what ignites something deep inside his psychology, is not ease, but the demand to rise. When you challenge a man, you awaken his purpose. When you require more than his words, when you expect action, consistency, and effort, you stir the part of him that craves growth. A man's desire is wired to seek meaning through struggle. Without something to fight for, he drifts. Without a mountain to climb, he loses his edge. And when a woman embodies standards that push him beyond complacency, he feels alive. The attraction he feels toward her is not just emotional or physical, it's existential. She becomes the mirror that reflects his potential, and that reflection demands effort. Understand this, being a challenge doesn't mean playing games or withholding affection. It means embodying self-worth so deeply that access to you must be earned. It's about having the courage to say, if you want to stand beside me, bring your best. Weakness desires comfort, strength desires challenge. And when a man meets a woman who refuses to accept mediocrity, he is forced to evolve or exit. Either way, she wins. Hebrew. Most people confuse challenge with conflict, but true challenge is rooted in respect. It's not about control, it's about standard. It's about refusing to enable laziness, emotional immaturity, or half-hearted effort. The woman who challenges a man doesn't criticize his weakness. She calls out his greatness. She doesn't tear him down, she demands that he rise to his highest self. Ibra challenge creates polarity. It builds tension, energy, and desire. Why? Because effort breeds value. What we lay before, we cherish. What we earn, we protect. When a man must work for your respect, your trust, or your time, he recognizes the privilege of having it. The easier something is to obtain, the faster it's forgotten. The harder it is to reach, the deeper it imprints on the psyche. A man cannot stay attracted to what doesn't require him to grow. A relationship without challenge becomes a comfort zone, and comfort zones kill passion. A man's spirit thrives on pursuit, not of someone unavailable, but of someone uncompromising. That's the difference. The challenge isn't about playing hard to get, it's about being hard to keep, because you continue to evolve, to think deeply, to demand substance. Ibra's challenge awakens respect. When you hold your line, when you say, this is what I expect, this is how I live, this is what I won't tolerate, you establish gravity. You stop being an option and start being an opportunity. You don't chase validation, you inspire improvement. That's what true feminine power looks like. The man who truly desires you doesn't run from challenge, he runs toward it. He wants to earn your trust, to prove his strength, to rise to the level where your energy feels like home. You see, challenge filters the weak from the worthy. The weak interpret it as rejection. The worthy recognize it as invitation. And that's where real attraction lives, in the space between effort and reward. Every time you lower your standard to keep someone, you lose the very quality that could have awakened their best. Every time you compromise your value for comfort, you destroy the polarity that keeps desire alive. Challenge doesn't push people away. It draws the right ones closer, the ones built for depth, not convenience. When a man says, you make me want to be better, that's not a romantic line, that's biology. That's evolution at work. The masculine thrives when tested. The feminine, when rooted in strength, provides that test not as an obstacle, but as an invitation to ascend. Never apologize for being a challenge. You are not difficult. You are defining the terms of your worth. You are not intimidating. You are reminding the world that respect is earned, not given. The right man won't fear that. He'll crave it. Because the man who can meet your challenge doesn't just want your attention. He wants your admiration. So stand firm in your standards. Speak your truth with calm conviction. Let your boundaries teach others what you will and will not accept. Because when you challenge someone to rise, you're not being hard, you're being honest. And honesty is the purest. In the end, traction there is. In the end, challenge isn't about testing others. It's about staying loyal to yourself. The one who can meet you there, who accepts the climb, embraces the effort, and still chooses you, that's the one who deserves to stand beside you. Hebrew. Because challenge doesn't repel love, it refines it. It separates the temporary from the timeless. And when you embody that truth, you stop attracting boys who want comfort and start inspiring men who crave greatness. Mystery fuels obsession. What captures a man's mind is not what he already knows about you, it's what he doesn't. It's the sense that there's always more to discover, that every time he thinks he's figured you out, he realizes he's only touched the surface. Mystery is not manipulation, it's depth. It's the art of being known but never entirely understood. It's what turns curiosity into fascination and fascination into desire. In a world where everyone overshares, where validation is the new addiction, mystery is power. It's rare, it's magnetic, it makes people lean in. Why? Because the human mind craves contrast. Certainty is comfortable, but uncertainty is addictive. When a man senses that you are emotionally layered, spiritually grounded, and not easily read, he feels something primal awaken inside him, the urge to pursue. But let's be clear, mystery is not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to fully grasp. It's about living with such inner richness that no one can summarize you in a sentence. You become magnetic when you stop performing and start embodying quiet depth. You let your presence speak more than your words. You leave room for him to wonder. That's what keeps him thinking about you when you're not around. The woman who reveals everything too soon kills the spark before it even starts, not because honesty is wrong, but because intimacy must be earned. When a man doesn't have to work to understand you, he stops valuing the understanding. But when you reveal yourself layer by layer, when each conversation unveils a new depth, his curiosity becomes obsession. He can't predict you, and what he can't predict, he can't forget. Ibrahim mystery is emotional restraint. It's the wisdom to know when to speak and when to stay silent. It's smiling instead of explaining, walking away instead of defending, and allowing silence to do the heavy lifting. The most attractive energy in the world is calm confidence. A woman who is not in a rush to be understood radiates power because she trusts that those meant to know her will stay long enough to find out. Hebrew mystery is also self-possession. You own your energy. You don't give it away cheaply. You move with purpose, not pressure. You don't try to impress, you express through authenticity and alignment. That's what makes you unforgettable. Men forget the ones who chase. They remember the ones who leave them wondering, who is she really? That question doesn't fade, it echoes. Understand this, a man's attraction deepens when he feels discovery. When he senses that every moment with you reveals something new, not in performance but in presence. When your thoughts challenge him, your silence humbles him, and your strength inspires him, he becomes addicted, not to control, but to connection. You don't become a habit, you become a mystery he wants to understand for the rest of his life. Hebrew mystery is not coldness, it's grace. It's not detachment, it's discernment. It's knowing the difference between what deserves your vulnerability and what doesn't. When you guard your emotional world, you create space for respect to grow. Respect always precedes desire. A man cannot desire deeply what he doesn't respect, and he cannot respect what he easily conquers. To embody mystery is to stop explaining yourself. You don't need to justify your standards, your silence, or your pace. Let him wonder, let him pursue, because pursuit is where admiration grows. Mystery teaches patience, and patience reveals worth. When a man waits for understanding, he begins to value it. That's how obsession begins. Not through exposure, but through anticipation. When you become too available, you remove the sacredness of your energy. But when you move with intention, when your attention is selective, your words are measured, and your emotions are disciplined, you create scarcity. And scarcity creates value. The less you reveal prematurely, the more powerful your presence becomes. A mysterious woman isn't trying to be elusive, she simply knows herself too well to be consumed by the wrong energy. She's not hiding, she's protecting her peace. She's not playing games, she's honoring her depth. Her mystery doesn't repel, it refines. It filters those who seek control and attracts those who seek connection. In a world that rewards loudness, mystery is quiet rebellion. It's the strength to let others not know everything about you, because power isn't in being seen, it's in being felt. And when your presence lingers long after you've gone, you've already mastered the psychology of attraction. So remember this: mystery isn't pretending. It's presence without exposure, confidence without explanation, truth without performance. It's walking through the world with a sense of self so secure that others feel privileged to be invited in. Because obsession doesn't come from knowing everything, it comes from never fully knowing enough. And that's the paradox of real attraction. The more deeply you know yourself, the less you have to reveal, and the more they'll crave to understand. Emotional strength is irresistible. It's not just attractive, it's magnetic. Because in a world full of people reacting to everything, the one who can remain calm, composed, and centered under pressure becomes unforgettable. Emotional strength doesn't shout, it stands still. It's the quiet power that says, no matter what happens, I know who I am. And that energy, steady, grounded, unshakable, draws people in like gravity.
A man may be drawn to beauty.
Why? But he's anchored by strength. The kind that doesn't depend on circumstances, approval, or external validation. The kind that comes from inner discipline, control over one's emotions, not suppression, but mastery. Because when chaos rises and you stay composed, you communicate power. You tell the world without words, I am not easily broken. Emotional strength doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you don't let pain define you. You face it, you process it, and you rise. You turn heartbreak into wisdom, rejection into redirection, and disappointment into fuel. People admire those who endure, but they respect those who endure with grace. That's what emotional strength is. It's grace under fire. Hussey, men are instinctively drawn to this kind of energy, not because it's dominant, but because it's stable. A woman with emotional strength doesn't crumble when things get uncertain. She doesn't spiral into drama or demand reassurance from weakness. She moves with clarity, not chaos. She understands that peace is not something you find, it's something you build, choice by choice, moment by moment. And that's rare. Because emotional strength requires discipline. It requires you to master your reactions, to delay the impulse to prove, to resist the temptation to over-explain. It's easier to lash out, to post your pain, to drown in distraction, but strength comes from restraint. It's saying, I will respond, not react. I will choose clarity over chaos and composure over control. This kind of power changes how you're perceived. When you no longer argue with disrespect, when you no longer chase closure, when you stop explaining your worth, you become untouchable. You don't win by fighting for respect, you win by embodying it. Emotional strength silences noise. It makes people recalibrate in your presence. They can't manipulate what they can't destabilize. Here's the truth. Emotional chaos repels, but emotional composure attracts. Not because calmness is glamorous, but because it's rare. When a man meets a woman who refuses to be pulled into his storms, who meets tension with poise and pressure with patience, he feels both challenged and safe. She's not competing for control, she's controlling herself, and that's real dominance. You see, strength isn't about suppression. It's not about pretending nothing hurts. It's about transforming that pain into purpose. It's about knowing you could fall apart but choosing not to. It's about feeling deeply but thinking clearly. It's what separates those who react to life from those who lead it. A woman with emotional strength doesn't beg for love. She chooses love that aligns with her peace. She doesn't demand loyalty, her energy commands it. She doesn't play games because she doesn't need to. She has nothing to prove and everything to protect. Her dignity, her time, her energy. That kind of presence melts a man's mind because she's not waiting to be chosen. She's already chosen herself. Her emotional strength also means accountability. You own your part in your story. You stop blaming others for how you feel. You recognize that peace is built, not given. You stop expecting someone else to regulate your emotions. That ownership, that maturity is irresistible. It shows depth, self-awareness, and control. The emotionally strong are not unfeeling, they're anchored. They don't react to every word or mood. They understand the difference between temporary emotion and lasting truth. When a man meets a woman with that kind of depth, he feels both admiration and humility. She doesn't try to fix him. She doesn't try to control him. She understands him, but never at the cost of herself. Emotional strength is not about being cold, it's about being contained. It's the strength to stay warm without burning out. It's knowing when to engage and when to let go. It's loving deeply but refusing to lose yourself in the process. That's what makes it so magnetic, because peace is the most powerful presence in the room. People underestimate how powerful calmness really is. The loudest one rarely holds the most strength. True power is quiet. It doesn't need to prove. It's in the woman who can sit in silence and not crumble, in the one who can walk away and not look back, in the one who can feel pain but still choose dignity. A man can't forget that kind of woman. She becomes his standard, not because she made noise, but because she held stillness. She becomes the reminder of what real power feels like: presence without performance, love without fear, strength without arrogance. So remember, emotional strength doesn't make you hard, it makes you whole. It doesn't make you distant, it makes you disciplined. It's not about closing your heart, it's about guarding it with wisdom. Because when you learn to master your emotions, you stop being controlled by them. And that's when your energy changes everything around you. You stop chasing peace because you've become it. You stop seeking validation because you embody worth. And that right there, that calm, centered, self-owned energy is what no one can resist.